Good morning, everyone. My name is Turki Ajmi, and I am joined today by my teammates Hussein, Adel, Walid, and Sudrith. Together, we represent our final capstone project for CSE3 CAP, completed in partnership with Promcore Facility Management. Our project is called War Room, a bid intelligence dashboard that centralizes Australian tender opportunities into one self-hosted platform. Today, you'll hear about the problem we solved, the system we built, and you'll watch a live demo of the working dashboard. So let's get into it. Before the solution, the problem. Every morning, Promcorp's business development managers open 7 different procurement portals manually. AUS tenders, New South Wales e-tendering, WA buy, SA tenders, Victoria, Queensland, and tenders.net. Each one different, each one checked one by one, copying titles into spreadsheets, trying to remember which deadlines were this week. Look at the 3 problems on the left side. Duplicated efforts. Multiple people checking the same portals, finding the same tenders, and doing the same work twice, with no shared records of what had already been reviewed. Missed deadlines. With no central view, urgent tenders slip through. A contract closing in 2 days might not be noticed until it was too late. Zero pipeline visibility. Nobody on the team knew what was being pursued and who owned it or what stage each bid was at. Spreadsheets could never fix this. This needed a proper technology solution, and that is exactly what we built. Now I'll hand it over to Hussein to explain what we out to deliver.
Thank you, Turkey. Our goal with this capstone was simple. Give PromptCorp one self-hosted platform with complete visibility over Australian tender opportunities from discovery all the way through to bid outcome. To get there, we focused on 3 specific objectives. First, centralized tender data. We wanted to pull tender opportunities from AusTender and Australian state portals into our own system so it's all in one place. For the MVP, we originally targeted 2 sources but ended up delivering 7. Second, normalize everything into one consistent schema. Every portal publishes tenders differently, different fields, different formats, different naming conventions. So we built an ingestion layer that translates each source into a single unified structure. The result is that tenders can be compared and filtered consistently, regardless of where they came from. Third, support faster bid decisions. It's not enough to just collect data. You need to help BDMs actually act on it, so we built tools to speed up decision making. Search, filters, pipeline stages, owner assignment, and export. Now, just as importantly, what's out of scope and why. ERP Next integration would require PromptCorp's IT team, and that's outside the scope of this capstone. International markets would mean completely different connectors, so that's a natural future extension, but not part of what we're delivering here. And finally, the bid document writing is a human job, so we didn't try to automate it. These were deliberate decisions. Scoping tightly is what allowed us to deliver a complete working product. And now I'll pass it on to Walid to show you what we built.
Thank you, Hussein. Here is what we actually delivered. On the left, the live war room dashboard. On the right, there is 8 features. Every one of them shipped. Tender details as the first feature. It has full tender profile as title, buyer, source, state, sector, value, closing date, and a direct link to the original portal page. In the second feature, you have stats views. It has active tenders you can bid on now. upcoming ones to plan for, recently closed to review outcomes. Tender list and charts in the third feature. It has sector distribution and a state value chart for an instant market snapshot. Within the fourth feature, search and filter, there is keyword search plus sector, state, date range, and value filters all combinable. Pipeline tracking, it is assign internal stage considering bidding, submitted, won or lost, add owners and notes, as well as team-wide visibility. In the export and reporting feature, we have CSV and PDF export from any view with one click. Authentication, it has login restricted access. Promcorp's bid data stays internal. On the saved searches, there is store common filter configuration so you don't reset them every morning. And within the 8 features, all delivered, I will hand it to Saur Duraith to explain the system behind this.
Thank you, Valid. I will explain how the system works, from the data sources to the user browser. The system has 7 component data sources, Oz Tender and 6 Australian state procurement portals. These publish tender records. Our system connects them together automatically. Salary Worker, a background process that runs on a schedule. It fetches tender record from each sources, clean the data, map it out into a unfired schema, check for duplicates, and save new records to the database. This happens silently. The user never sees it. Redis, the message queue between the backend and the worker. When a user triggers a manual ingestion, the requests go through Redis to the worker. PostgreSQL, our database, store all tenders record, pipeline, user account, save search, and ingestion logs. Fast API, the backend receives requests from the dashboard, queries to the database, applies business logic, and return the data. React dashboard, what the user sees built in React and TypeScript, all views, filter charts, and pipeline. Micro K8s cluster, all components run inside Promcorp self-hosted Kubernetes environment, their own hardware, no external cloud dependency. Every component has one clear job. Every component is replaceable. That is a maintainable architecture. I will pass it to Adele.
Thank you, Rith. My name is Adel. I will show you how the dashboard changed during the project. On the left, version 1 from Sprint 2, the first working version. No branding, no sidebar navigation, very basic filters. It worked, but it looked like prototype. On the right, the final version, you will see in the demo, the ORBIS brand has been added. The logo, the green and dark color scheme, the proper sidebar navigation menu, chart and market snapshot sections, the pipeline view, and the system health panel showing all 7 sources. The system grew in both capability and quality from the start of the project to the end. Now I will pass to Turkey.
Thank you, Adele. Now let's talk about who this dashboard is actually built for. 3 stakeholders, and every feature traces back to each one of them. The bid manager needs to find opportunities fast and act before deadlines. With the War Room dashboard, they open the dashboard, filter by facility management in New South Wales, see what's closing this week, and track the best opportunities into the pipeline, all under 2 minutes. That's the real daily time saving. The project owner needs the big picture. They see the pipeline summary, the market snapshots, the charts, and exports a PDF straight into the weekly bid review. No manual report compilation. The system maintainer needs to ensure that the system is healthy. They check the system health panel, confirm all 7 ingestion sources show success, and trigger a manual refresh if needed. No code required. Every feature you've seen maps directly back to one of these 3 people. That is the design discipline we followed. Now, rather than keep describing the features, let's show you how the system actually works in action. The demo you're about to watch is the actual War Room dashboard running on our self-hosted deployment. Not a mock-up, not slides, the real working system. I'll walk you through each panel and explain what you're looking at as we go. All right, let's get started. First, the user starts from the login screen. This is important because the dashboard is designed as an internal prompt called business tool, not a public website. The user then enters their username and password, then clicks sign in. In this case, we have admin as the username and War Room 2026 as the password. Once you have signed in, the user is then taken to the main dashboard. This page gives a quick overview of tender and pipeline activities. This is where the summary cards show key information, such as active bids, upcoming bids, recently closed bids, and pipeline items. This helps a bid manager or a decision maker understand the current tender position without opening every record individually. And if we look down here, this is where you can see the live health status of all the connected sources. Now, before we go through each page, I want to quickly explain the left side control panel. We designed it so everything important is in one place and easy for new users to understand. Nothing is hidden in, random menus. At the top, we have Orbis logo and the login user section with a clear sign out button. Below that is run ingestion. The system is designed to collect tender data automatically through scheduled ingestions, but this button lets the admin manually refresh the data immediately when needed. Then we have the CSV and PDF export buttons. So users can download the current data from reporting or offline for reporting or offline review. The tender.net link section lets the admin save the external tender source link, such as the New South Wales Opportunity Portal. Below that is the navigation area. I'll go through that through each page separately, so I'll not explain that in detail at the moment. Finally, we have the filter section down here, where users can narrow results by sector, state, date, and value range. So overall, this sidebar acts as the dashboard control. Now, we are in the active bid page. So this page shows the tender opportunities that are currently open and still available for review. At the top, we can see the active bid count, and inside the table, we can see the key details for each opportunity. Each row includes the tender title, sector, state, close date, and source. This helps the users quickly compare opportunities without opening different websites manually. The search bar lets the users quickly find a tender by title, sector, state, or source. While on the right side, the open button takes the user to the original source where available, and the track button allows the user to add the tender into the internal pipeline for review. Some tenders are already marked as tracking, which means they have already been selected for internal follow-up. So this page is mainly used to review open opportunities, compare them quickly, and decide which ones should be moved into the bid pipeline. Now, I also want to bring your attention to the filter down here. So you have the keywords you could put in. You could choose whatever state, and then you could choose the date, and you could choose the value, minimum and maximum value. In this case, we'll just use this. So as you can see, this is an example, and the filter has worked. Now, if we wanted to just reset it, we do that and then enter. All right, moving on to the upcoming. Upcoming bids show tender opportunities that are not immediate yet. So the team can plan ahead, review deadlines early, and decide which future bids are worth tracking. Moving on to the recently closed bids. Recently closed bids is where the past tender opportunities would appear for review and reporting. And right now there's no closed bids available. So the dashboard clearly shows an empty state. All right, moving on to the pipeline. Now that we are in the pipeline bids page, this page is basically used for internal bid tracking after a tender has been selected for follow-up. The workflow at the top shows the process clearly. First, the user tracks a tender, then assigns an owner, submits the bid when it's lodged, and finally marks the outcome as won or lost. Below that, we can filter the pipeline by stage, such as considering bidding, submitted, won, or lost. In the table, we can see that the tender name, current stage, assigned owner, internal notes, a last updated date, and the next action. For example, these bids are currently in the bidding stage and assigned to a team member. At the bottom, the system also supports important internal or private opportunities through Excel. This is mainly useful when Prompt Corp has opportunities that are not available for the public tender portals. So this page turns selected tenders into a structured internal workflow instead of leaving them as just a list of public opportunities. All right, now moving on to the final section as saved search alerts. This is a watch list basically page, also called as the saved search alert. Here users can save repeated search criteria instead of entering the same filter every time. For example, a user can create a watch list for active cleaning tender opportunities in New South Wales. While on the left, the user can choose the watch list name, status, sector, and state, then saves it. On the right, the saved watch list appears with their filters, and the check button can be used to see matching tenders. This is useful for monitoring specific types of opportunities without actually manually searching from scratch every time. And as you can see here, once you have checked, there's clearly none here, but there is one opportunity there. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. That was the War Room in action. I'll hand it back to Hussein to walk you through the technology behind what you just saw.
The demo showed you what War Room does, but now let me explain why we built it the way we did. We wanted two things: a dashboard that feels fast and interactive, and a system Prompt Corp can self-host and maintain. So the dashboard itself is built with React because we need a truly interactive user interface. We use TypeScript for type safety so the code base stays maintainable for whoever picks this up next. And we used Vite because it gives us fast builds and a smooth development workflow. Behind the dashboard, we built the API with FastAPI. It's a lightweight Python framework and auto-generates Swagger API documentation. So any future developer can immediately see every endpoint and what it does, and that's a real handover advantage. Ingestion is the heavy part. It has to contact multiple external portals and process hundreds of records. If we ran that synchronously, it would freeze the dashboard, so we used Celery to move ingestion into background jobs, and so the user interface stays responsive. And finally, to make sure everything runs the same everywhere, we containerized each service with Docker. That gives identical behavior on a developer laptop and in PromptCorp's production environment. As for deployment, we use MicroK8s because PromptCorp's environment is self-hosted Kubernetes. The system runs on their own infrastructure with no dependency on external cloud providers, and that was a hard project requirement. The design principle behind all of this is modularity. The dashboard, API ingestion, and deployment are all separate. Add a new tender source, change one connector, nothing else breaks. Over to Al Walid now for the delivery story.
Thank you, Hussein. Let me walk you through how this project was actually delivered. So, in the IL delivery, there were 5 sprints. Every sprint had a defined goal. Every goal was completed. Starting with sprint 1, setup and architecture. Jira configured, requirements breakdown, upstream repositories evaluated, architectural design, the foundation that every sprint built on. Moving to sprint 2, data ingestion and backend. It was the hardest sprint. We built the undefined tender data model, the AUST tender connector, a second state source, and the fast API backend. By the end, real data was flowing from live government portals into our database. Going to sprint 3, dashboard MVP, React dashboard shell built, active and upcoming bid views connected to the live API, filters and search working, end-to-end flow demonstrated for the first time. Going for last and not least, sprint 4, we re-environment and deployment. The UI polish, charts added, authentication implemented, MicroK8 deployment configured, full QA cycle run. Finally, sprint 5. On the final delivery, system and functional testing completed, all documentation written, this presentation prepared.
Thank you, Walid. 3 columns on this slide. What was in scope, what was delivered, and what comes next. In scope, 9 items. Tender ingestion from multiple sources, a unified data model, active, upcoming, and closed dashboard views, filter and keyword search, charts and summary cards, internal PromptCorp, data support, authentication stub, CSV and PDF export, final documentation and report. All 9 delivered every time. 11 deliverables in total. 6 software output and 5 project outputs, including Jira evidence, the given GitHub repository, technical document, user documentation, and this presentation. 6 future work items. Enterprise SSO, AI bid ranking, live stream update, ERP NX, integration, international market, and automated bid document. These are not gap, they are the documented roadmap for the next version. I will pass it to Adele.
Thank you, Rith. My name is Adil. I will walk through how we tested the system. We ran 6 types of testing before the final release. The first one, functional. Each feature tested individually, all passed. The system, all components tested together as an integrated system, all passed. User story, each Jira user story validated against acceptance criteria, all passed. integration, communication between React, Fast API, PostgreSQL, Redis, and Celery verified, all fast. Deployment, full deployment to micro K8s, confirm working, all fast. Usability tested with the BDM estimator and management personnel, all passed. Now unresolved critical defects in the final release. We also have 5 known limitations. Authentication is MVP level. Data quality depends on the source portals. No bid ranking, schedule rather than live updates. And more source could be added. There are documented boundaries, not failures. Now I will pass to Hussein.
Thank you, Adil. So this is the actual handover slide. So we're going to show what PromCorp physically receives today. It comes in two parts. First, the code base. PromCorp gets the full source code on GitHub, the Python API, the React, plus TypeScript dashboard, the Postgres schema, and the Docker configuration. And finally, the micro K8 deployment files. There is also a README so a new developer can get oriented quickly, and importantly, all 5 team members have a visible commit history, so there is no single point of knowledge failure. Second, the documentation. They receive 2 full document sets, the system maintenance document, and that covers the architecture, database schema, API catalog, ingestion workflow, deployment procedures, and troubleshooting. And also the user documentation, which walks through every dashboard feature step by step, written for business users, not developers. And it also has screenshots included. Plus individual authorship statements. So the outcome is simple. PromCorp receives a working code base and everything needed to review, run, maintain, and extend the bid intelligence dashboard, not just the code. A sustainable, documented system. I'll pass it on to Al Walid now for the final reflection.
Thank you, Hussein. To close this section, I want to focus on the main question that matters for PromCorp. What business value does War Room actually deliver? War Room gives PromCorp one central place to track tender opportunities. Instead of checking more than 7 different portals manually, the team can now use one dashboard to see relevant tenders clearly and quickly. This saves time, reduces repeated manual searching, and makes the whole process more efficient. The filters and search function also make a major difference. Rather than spending up to 45 minutes looking through different sites, users can find relevant opportunities in seconds. The active, upcoming, and closed views also help the team understand the stats of each tender, which lowers the risk of missing important deadlines or overlooking opportunities. Another key value is visibility. The charts, summary cards, and pipeline views give PromCorp a clearer picture of tender activity. This supports faster prioritization and better decision making, especially during internal bid review meetings. The export function also means reports can be prepared directly from the system instead of being manually compiled from different sources. Reflecting on the project, there are 3 main lessons. First, the agile process helped us make steady progress. Each sprint delivered something useful and kept the project moving forward. Second, clear scope decision helped us stay focused. Some features such as automation, AI ranking, enterprise authentication, and deployment were identified as future improvement rather than being ignored. Third, Working with a real client and real requirements made the project more practical and grounded. Overall, War Room delivers a faster, smarter, and more reliable way for Promcorp to find, track, and act on tender opportunities. It turns scattered tender information into centralized, accountable bid intelligence. I'll now pass it to Turkey for the handover.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of our presentation. We came in with a real business problem. 7 porters, duplicated efforts, missed deadlines, no pipeline visibility. And we are now leaving with a working self-hosted dashboard that solves all of that. Tested, documented, and ready to hand over to Promcorp today. On behalf of myself, Hussein, Adele, Walid, and Sudrith, thank you so much. And we are happy to take any questions if needed.